Chapter 10. The Unblinking Ritual. The failure of the mirror room left them with nowhere to run and time running out. Dr. Thorne sat in the ruins of Ethan's living room, surrounded by pages of notes and calculations that seemed to mock their previous confidence. His equipment registered constant low-level anomalies now. The perceptual filter was no longer hiding in the shadows, but asserting its presence throughout the house, claiming territory with each passing hour. "It's stronger now, Doctor," Thorne said, not looking up from his frantic scribbling. "The mirror room didn't trap it, it fed it. All that observation, all those reflections, we gave it exactly what it needed to stabilize its presence in our reality." Nathan paced the broken room, unable to sit still while something wearing his wife's face grew more powerful by the minute. Through the shattered windows, he could see shadows moving independently of their sources, and every reflective surface in the house showed distortive images that hurt to look at directly. So what now? We can't observe it into submission. We can't trap it with mirrors, and running just makes things worse. He stopped pacing and turned to face the doctor. "Tell me you have another plan." Dr. Thorne was quiet for a long moment, his pen hovering over a page covered in arcane symbols and mathematical formulas. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of terrible knowledge. There was one method, a ritual that theoretically could lock a perceptual powder into a stable observation state, preventing it from fully manifesting. He looked up, his expression grim, "But it requires something I'm not sure you're prepared to give." "What?" "A permanent warden. Someone has to maintain constant, unbroken observation of the entity for the rest of their natural life. No sleep, no unconsciousness, no moments of inattention. The observer becomes a living prison, keeping the predator locked in a state of perpetual being watched." The implication settled over Ethan like a shroud. "That's what Lena was doing. All those nights standing over my bed, all the vigilance and terror, she was trying to be the warden. And it worked until you looked away." Dr. Thorne set down his pen and rubbed his tired eyes. "The ritual I'm proposing would formalize that relationship, create a metaphysical bond that can't be broken by simple inattention, but the cost. The warden can never stop watching. Never, and the predator will fight back, will try to break the observer's mind, will offer every temptation and terror to make them blink, to make them look away." Dr. Thorne gathered his papers into a neat stack. "Most observers don't last a year before they go insane or die from exhaustion." Ethan thought about Lena's final months, the gradual hollowing out of her personality, the way she'd moved through their house like a ghost, the terrible stillness that had replaced her vibrant energy. She'd been dying by degrees, sacrificing herself piece by piece to keep something monstrous at bay. And in the end, he'd undone all her sacrifice with a single involuntary blink. "How does the ritual work?" Dr. Thorne hesitated. "Are you certain you want to know?" "Once I explain it, there's no going back to ignorance. The knowledge itself becomes part of the binding." "Tell me." The doctor opened his briefcase and pulled out an ancient book bound in leather that looked suspiciously like human skin. The pages were covered in symbols that seemed to shift and writhe when viewed directly, and touching the book made Ethan's fingers tingle with unnatural energy. "A ritual of unblinking vigilance, Doctor." Thorne read from the impossible text. "It requires 3 components: a focus object to anchor the predator's attention, a multi-spectrum observation array to prevent dimensional shifting, and a blood sacrifice to seal the bond." "Blood sacrifice?" "Not death, Doctor," Thorne clarified quickly. "But the observer must give up something essential, a piece of their identity, their capacity for normal human experience. The ritual literally rewrites the observer's perception, making them incapable of anything but constant vigilance." As he spoke, shadows began gathering in the corners of the room, drawn by the discussion of binding rituals and ancient knowledge. The perceptual fadir was listening, its attention focused on them with predatory intensity. "It knows what we're planning," Ethan observed. "Of course it does. The moment I opened this book, we entered into a metaphysical negotiation. It will try to stop us, to corrupt the ritual, to turn our own methods against us." Dr. Thorne closed the book carefully. "That's why we need to move quickly." They spent the next hour gathering materials, candles arranged in specific geometric patterns, mirrors positioned at precise angles, and Dr. Thorne's most sophisticated cameras modified with lenses that could capture light across spectrums invisible to human eyes. The ritual space took shape in the center of the living room, a complex mandala of observation and binding. But as they worked, the house fought back. Shadows moved independently of their light sources, flowing across walls like living ink. The carved symbols throughout the house began to glow with sickly luminescence, pulsing in rhythm with some cosmic heartbeat. And everywhere, just at the edge of perception, tall figures watched from impossible angles. "It's calling reinforcements, Doctor," Thorne muttered, adjusting a camera that kept shifting out of focus on its own. Other predators, drawn by the scent of a major binding. "How many others are there?" "More than you want to know. They exist in the spaces between observation, in the blind spots of reality. Most are weak, feeding on momentary inattention and peripheral glimpses. But when one grows strong enough to attempt full manifestation," he gestured at the symbols glowing around them, "they all take notice." The ritual circle was nearly complete when Lena appeared. Not the hollow-eyed thing that had been hunting him, but his wife as she'd been in life. Beautiful, warm, radiating the love that had defined their relationship. She stood at the edge of the circle, just outside the binding patterns, her expression heartbroken. "Don't do this," she pleaded, her voice exactly as he remembered it. "Please, Ethan, don't trap yourself the way I was trapped." Dr. Thorne grabbed Ethan's arm before he'd step toward her. "That's not your wife. It's the predator wearing her face, trying to disrupt the ritual." But looking at Lena, at the tears in her eyes, at the familiar gesture she made when she was trying not to cry, Ethan found it impossible to believe she wasn't real. "I fought so hard to protect you," she continued, her voice breaking. "All those months of vigilance, all that sacrifice, it was so you wouldn't have to go through this, so you could live a normal life." "Then help me," Ethan said, his own voice rough with emotion. "If you're really Lena, help me finish what you started." The figure that looked like his wife shook her head sadly. "I can't. I'm not strong enough anymore. The predator has consumed too much of who I was." She reached out as if to touch his face, her hand stopping just short of contact. "But you don't have to do this. You can run. You can leave it all behind. And let it spread. Let it consume other people the way it consumed you." Ethan stepped back, moving deeper into the ritual circle. "No, this ends here." Dr. Thorne had finished the preparations. The cameras hummed with electronic purpose, their modified lenses trained on the empty space at the center of the circle. Candles cast shifting shadows that seemed to dance independently of their flames. And in the exact center, placed on a pedestal of stacked books, was a focus object, a shard of mirror from their destroyed bedroom, stained with what looked like dried blood. "Are you ready, Doctor?" Thorne asked, his hand hovering over the switch that would activate the full array. Ethan looked one last time at the figure that might or might not be his wife, memorizing her face as she'd been in life. Then he nodded. "Begin the ritual." Dr. Thorne activated the cameras, and the room exploded with light from across the electromagnetic spectrum. The shadows screamed, an actual sound, like metal tearing, as they were caught in the overlapping fields of observation. The symbols carved into the walls flared brilliant white before going dark forever. And in the center of the circle, something began to take shape. It was tall and angular, made of darkness given form and hunger made manifest. As the cameras locked onto it, forcing it into stable existence, the perceptual power car revealed its true nature, not quite human, not quite animal, but something that existed in the spaces between definition. "Now, Doctor," Thorne shouted over the electronic whine of overloaded equipment, "make the binding!" Ethan stepped forward and placed his hand on the blood-stained mirror shard. The moment his skin made contact, agony shot through his nervous system. Not physical pain, but something deeper, the sensation of his very identity being rewritten at the quantum level. "You cannot bind me," the predator spoke directly into his mind, its voice like breaking glass. "I am older than your species, stronger than your will. I have consumed civilizations." But Ethan pressed his hand harder against the mirror, feeling his normal human perception burning away like fog before sunlight. In its place came something new, a way of seeing that encompassed all spectrums, all angles, all possible hiding places where something might lurk. I see you, he whispered, and the words carried weight beyond sound. I see all of you, every dimension, every shadow, every attempt to hide. The predator writhed in the binding circle, its form becoming less stable as Ethan's transformed perception locked onto it. For the first time since the nightmare began, it looked afraid. You don't understand what you're becoming, it hissed. The things you'll see, the knowledge you'll carry, it will drive you mad within days. Maybe, Ethan agreed, feeling his old life slipping away like water through his fingers. But you'll be right there with me, trapped in my observation, unable to hurt anyone else. The ritual reached its crescendo. The cameras overloaded one by one, sparking and smoking as they tried to record impossible images. The candles flared and died, and in the center of it all, the perceptual Balter solidified into a form that could be truly seen, truly observed, truly bound. When the light faded, Dr. Thorne found Ethan standing motionless in the center of the circle, staring at something only he could see. His eyes had changed, not physically, but in the quality of attention they held. They moved constantly now, tracking movement across spectrums of light that normal humans couldn't perceive. Is it done? Dr. Thorne asked. Ethan nodded slowly, never taking his eyes off the space where the predator was trapped. It's done, but the cost. He turned to look at the doctor. And, doctor? Thorne stepped back involuntarily. The intelligence behind Ethan's transformed gaze was vast and alien, filled with knowledge no human was meant to possess. I can see everything, Ethan said quietly. All the spaces between spaces, all the things that hide in blind spots, all the hungry shadows that wait for moments of inattention. His voice carried new harmonics, as if multiple versions of himself were speaking in unison. There are so many of them, Dr. Thorne. So very many. The figure that had appeared as Lena was gone, but Ethan could still see her, trapped inside the bound predator, screaming silently in a prison of observation and alien hunger. She was part of it now, would always be part of it, another victim consumed but not destroyed. I'm sorry, he whispered to her shade. I'm so sorry I looked away. But even as he spoke, Ethan knew that his vigil had only just begun. The predator was bound but not destroyed, held in check by his constant observation but always seeking the smallest gap in attention, the briefest moment of human weakness. He would never sleep again, never close his eyes, never look away, and in the spaces at the edge of his transformed vision, other shadows were already gathering, drawn by the scent of successful binding and the promise of a new game to play. The ritual was complete, but the real horror was just beginning. Ethan Hayes, former architect, former husband, former human being, took up his post as warden of the impossible and began his eternal watch.